Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Central. We're here live. I'm your host, Alex Jones. The news websites are Infowars.com and, of course, PrisonPlanet.com. We're fighting the globalist takeover of the planet. Well, I was told about this weeks ago from the insider. I tell you, I've never seen information turn out to be 100% on target every time, like in the last 8 months with Roger Stone. I was aware of his books. I was aware of his work. I was aware of his activities, going back all the way to Nixon and Barry Goldwater and working in 4 administrations, 9 total. And then I saw the New York Times yesterday. Donald Trump hires Paul Manafort to lead the delegate effort. And it says right here that he's a longtime business partner of political operative Roger Stone. And it goes through what's happening on that front. But what's important here is also that Charles R. Black, who's also a longtime friend of both these gentlemen who've worked together. There's not many of these guys at this high a level that understand how to run conventions. These are the 3 guys. They admit that in the New York Times. He's gone off to be with John Kasich. And he's, I'm telling you, I don't know how much you can get into here because most of it's off record. A lot of it's going to be on record. So I'm not going to lead these questions. I'm going to let Roger Stone start wherever he wants for the next 40 minutes or so. And then and he can do the whole hour if he wants, but he's with us till 45 after to walk through the data dump he gave me last night and this morning, because the big steal's on, but we can stop it. But that's only part of the story. It's even in the New York Daily News. They're stealing it from Bernie Sanders. We, again, told you that months ago. So knowing is half the battle, as G.I. Joe says. This is a big deal. We also can talk about the lies about Stone from the Republican candidates, calling him the top henchman and claiming he's behind the sex stuff, which they admit comes from Rubio. That's even in mainstream media. And he's going to address that. And we're also going to get into Trump's campaign manager, obviously turning himself in and being arrested. What's really going on there? Because you watch the video, he does grab her. It doesn't look vicious, like she said, but both of them, I think, are lying when you watch both the videos. And Paul Watson has a video at Infowars.com pointing that out. I really don't think his campaign manager should be out there running security. That just really sounds stupid. He should be with guys that do that, so he's insulated. So that doesn't sound too smart. I don't want to attack his campaign manager. I think this is overblown, but I tell you, we're going to address that. We're going to get Roger Stone's take, former campaign managers, obviously on that right now. StoneZone.com. Now, I'm going to try to sit back and shut up and give Mr. Stone the floor because, again, a lot of this is secretive inside baseball, so we'll see how far he can go today. So the consummate insider now, consummate outsider, exposing the whole apple cart. Roger Stone, thanks for joining us.
Alex, great to be here. Well, as you know, I correctly predicted for Infowars.com only Monday that Scott Walker and the entire Wisconsin Republican machine, abetted by Paul Ryan, would endorse Ted Cruz and swing behind the Stop Trump effort in that crucial state. Trump has now done 2 town halls in the state. He was in very good form last night, focusing on trade, focusing on jobs. To a certain extent, of course, the controversy regarding his campaign manager, Corey Lewandowski, has eclipsed some of that. We have no way of knowing what the political implications of that are. But the big steal is definitely on. And as you indicated, ironically, the really important news this week was the selection of Donald Trump of Paul J. Manafort as his delegate coordinator and counter. Now, this is a very arcane art, Alex. There are very few political hands who understand the arcania and strategic options and structure of convention politics. The great F. Clifton White, who nominated Barry Goldwater. John P. Sears, who nominated Ronald Reagan. Dick Kleindienst, later Attorney General, helped nominate Richard Nixon. There are not many people on the face of the planet, certainly in the United States, who understand this. So in all honesty, I think that the Sharpies in the Republican Party, the Romney, Bush insider faction, assume that they were going to roll the Trump people, that they would be inexperienced, naive, untrained, disorganized. Trust me, all of that is out the window now. Paul Manafort is the single best vote counter in the Republican Party. And having an accurate count on the first ballot is absolutely crucial, because that lets you know whether you're in good shape or whether it's time to go out and make a deal. When you are closest to the nomination, as Trump will be, or at the magic number, you're in the driver's seat if you know what your strategic options are. I have now every confidence that Manafort will get the Trump campaign up to snuff. He will augment the already enthusiastic Trump operation in the States with some seasoned pros out of the Reagan operation, some going back as far as Goldwater, many fine Ron Paul people, other outsiders and conservative activists with vast convention experience coming up through the Young Republicans, coming up through the Republican state organizations, will augment Trump. Trump is going to be ready for battle in Cleveland.
Well, we're moving into the future, but going back 8 months ago, I know you warned Trump about this. You talked about this. You came on this show and said, get ready for this. He's going to win, but we've got to get ready for them to try to steal the nomination. And then, of course, the general election. And you've been right all along. So thank God you've been there, because now it's really being debated in the news. And the public is reviling the fact that they want to sell us that they can ignore the popular vote.
Well, and in all honesty, if I have any advice for Trump supporters, rank and file Trump supporters, it would be this: go to Cleveland, come to Cleveland. Don't let the big steal go forward without massive protest, peaceful, nonviolent protest. So as they used to say, don't wait for orders from headquarters, ride to the sound of the guns. I don't mean to imply violence on that. I mean, ride to where the action will be. We have to let the Republican bosses and the kingmakers and the insiders and the lobbyists know that we're not going to stand for the big steal. So if you are a Trump supporter, make plans now. Take a bus, hitchhike, carpool, take a train, fly if you can afford it. We need you in Cleveland.
This is the most political, direct action, the most important action in decades, if not in 100 years, folks. And bottom line, I mean, we can talk about this, right? You are going to plan to lead, with myself and many others, demonstrations, events, movements. The details won't be out for a while. But, folks, be in Cleveland for the week of that convention. Be there, and we are going to absolutely show the world the real power. We need 5 million constitutional Trumpians, Trumpists, to be there so that all the Soros trash and all the filth, the few 100,000 they'll have there, are totally dwarfed, and the establishment does not dare steal the popular vote from the people. And so we're going to have more information very, very soon. People can go to Stop the Steal website of Roger Stone and get ready. You want to stand up against the globalists, them trying to steal the election, and stop a populist that wants to have fair trade deals and things like that? You want to go up against all these foreign governments saying we can't have Trump? Then go to Stop the Steal. Go there today and get involved with Roger Stone and everybody else, because clearly Stone's gaining momentum. His other coterie of advisors and experts are within the Trump campaign. He's called where this was going. Trump knows that. And so thank God Trump's really getting a firm footing now against this takeover.
Yeah, Alex, I want to be very clear. Donald Trump made a brilliant decision in choosing Paul Manafort to run his convention operation. Manafort has done this for Gerald Ford, for Ronald Reagan, for George Bush, for Bob Dole. He is literally the very best. So I feel good about the convention. I might also say that now there's a growing breach between the establishment types, between the Romney, Rubio, Bush wing of the party, and John Kasich. Kasich has made a side deal with George Soros. The Soros forces have funneled over $530,000 to John Kasich to keep him in this race.
Now let's stop, because you're making huge announcements here, huge developments. You plan to go with millions of people and try to block the steal and exercise the First Amendment. They're already trying to steal your vote. Now they want to steal your speech. You got to exercise it or lose it. Bombshell. Also, Trump's got the best person and people in to try to fight this. Meanwhile, Kasich has hired the other guy, your former current friend, but a former business associate, to try to run his own delegate grab. He's admitting that, and now you're coming out from your sources, and you wanted to tell me this morning, and saying Soros is basically puppeteering Kasich. That discredits him so badly. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think the game plan is very clear. Kasich is the backup plan of the globalists. Kasich, they hope to force Kasich on Trump later as a running mate, just as they forced George H.W. Bush on Ronald Reagan. So Soros has a backup plan. I do know that that Kasich's handler, John Weaver, is profiteering mightily off the Soros connection. Now, I understand that the establishment types are angry that Kasich will not throw in with the Bush, Cruz, Rubio cabal, but he's putting his own best interests and the dollars of Soros ahead of the establishment. But in a sense, Soros is the puppet master. He's the man with the larger plan on how to affect what goes down in Cleveland. The other thing I can report, Alex, is that former Mississippi Governor Haley Barbour, a friend of mine, a master of the game, the king of the insiders, a very, very successful lobbyist.
Amazing. Stay there. Stay there. This is riveting breaking news, folks. With Roger Stone, StoneZone.com. I'm Alex Jones with Infowars.com. And we're going to write big articles on this today and tomorrow. This interview is going to go out. Everybody needs to understand the anatomy of the steal and how we stop it. All right, he's with us till about 45 after. Then I'm going to get into other geopolitical news, economic news, you name it. Alex Jones here back live. Roger Stone of StoneZone.com is here. StopTheSteal.org is where you go, and that's kind of the unofficial area, but they've got people on the ground. They're spending a lot of money where they're proving in different states and preparing lawsuits, you name it, for the fraud going on. Remember, they already took Louisiana publicly from Trump, even though he won, and gave it to Ted Cruz. So an unprecedented time going on. But if we get out there and wake people up, this will backfire on them. So continue with Roger Stone looking at the inside baseball. You were getting into different things happening behind the scenes, who Trump is hiring, what Soros is doing. Please continue.
Yeah, so I have learned, Alex, that Haley Barbour, former governor of Mississippi, former chairman of the Republican Governors Association, heavy-duty lobbyist, very smart pal, good friend of mine for many years, even though we disagree on many things, and his brother, Henry Barbour, the Republican National Committee man from Mississippi. Two of the ultimate insiders have retained Chris Hennick, a political consultant formerly with the Republican Governors Association, to game plan a rules and strategy to deprive Trump of this nomination. Now, you just made reference to StopTheSteal.org, and I think this is vitally important for people to understand. They are, in these caucuses and primaries, they have been systematically involved in voter fraud, voter irregularities. We are painstakingly and expensively documenting that in Oklahoma, in Texas, in Kansas, in Hawaii, and now overwhelmingly in Utah. The purpose of this is to challenge the seating of Cruz delegates in the Credentials Committee. It is a strategic option that we must have available to the Trump campaign if they decide to exercise it. So if you know of voter fraud in any of those states, or if you know of voter fraud or irregularities in the primaries going forward, in Wisconsin, in California, in New Jersey, in New York, please call the toll-free number. You can find it at StopTheSteal.org. If you want to contribute to help us document the steal going on in the primaries, again, go to StopTheSteal.org. This is vitally important information. We are going to have a massive Stop the Steal rally and protest in Cleveland. You'll be able to go to the site shortly to get those details.
I'm going to give the number out. We'll put it back up on screen briefly, and I can give that number out. It's 855-245-4634. That's 855-254-4634. And listen, we're about action here at InfoWars. And this is our popular vote. This is our system. They claim they're allowed to steal it. We're going to force their hand. and say, no, politically you're not just because you claim it. This is a mind game. And even if they have the nerve to still steal it, it will politically destroy them, but we have to illustrate it for everyone. We win either way, if they steal it or they don't steal it. But evidence is mounting that Trump and his crew on the ground have the old hands in there that will be able to stop them. At least get it out in the public view, and then the whole thing will blow up on them. Roger Stone, let's talk about how the breaks could work here, how you think this is probably going to end up working out. Because I've never seen a time that's more nail-biting, edge of your seat. In your 40-something years of electioneering, have you?
No, actually, as you know, Alex, most Republican national conventions, in fact, both party conventions have been cut and dried affairs that were decided long before folks got in the convention town. This will be the most epic and exciting and I think hard-fought convention since 1976, when I was working for Ronald Reagan and my former partner, Paul Manafort, was whipping delegates for Gerald Ford. Now, you mentioned Charlie Black, my former partner, now running delegate operations for John Kasich. Again, one of the most skilled and intuitive and well-connected political operatives in the country, not a man to be underestimated. The Kasich maneuver is a tough one. He's sitting on 100 votes. He has almost no probability of being nominated for president, but trust me, his is a vice presidential strategy to end up as the vice president for Trump or somebody. If this nomination does not go to Trump on the first ballot, I predict it goes to Paul Ryan on the fourth ballot.
Roger Stone, stay there. I want to come back and walk through this slowly. It's so important. And speaking of slowly, I gave the number out too fast and gave it out once wrong. StopTheSteal.org or 855-245-4634. That's 855-245-4634. StopTheSteal.org. Folks, get those complaints in. It's having a big effect. We'll be back straight ahead. I'm Alex Jones. It's election 2016, the battle for the Republic. It's being reported by WorldNet Daily, top story on Drudge Report by Jerome Corsi. We should get back on this week or next week. Dr. Corsi. The report is that Trump's chief of staff prosecutor outed as a Hillary supporter, put on Florida Democratic Party's campaign endorsing counsel. My issue is this is becoming a distraction from the rest of the campaign and the big steal. And that's another reason that Roger Stone has never even wanted to get into all the sex stuff. He's always said it's a distraction, it's a diversion. And then you notice again on CNN and a bunch of other channels last night, Ted Cruz came out and said, the henchman Roger Stone, we can play the clip, I guess, is out to get me, but he won't deny all the women. And I've been researching it. It looks like it's going on. My problem is he acts like he's the second coming, this high priest, this Messiah. And so if he is running around with 5 mistresses and hookers, I've got a problem with it. In fact, we have the clip. Here it is.
It is a smear that has come from Donald Trump and his henchmen. I would note that Mr. Stone is a man who has 50 years of dirty tricks behind him. He's a man for whom a term was coined for copulating with a rodent. Well, let me be clear. Donald Trump may be a rat, but I have no desire to copulate with him.
All right, that's the one from a few days ago. There's a new one, too, where he's saying stuff like this. Look, the Inquirer admits they were working on it 4 or 5 months ago. They admit you weren't involved. They called you about it. You said, yeah, I hear it's true. And the media is calling these women, and it's obviously much of it's true. The Inquirer, I don't know when they've been wrong about these scandals. I mean, John Edwards, you name it, the list goes on. And I know you didn't want to go with this. I called you this weekend and wanted you on about it. You didn't want to do it. But now you're here. You say you're willing to talk about it. Because for me, it goes to their character. They're openly stealing Trump delegates and votes. They're openly getting ready to steal the popular vote. And then they want to act like that you and Trump are beating up on his wife when they started the attacks on Trump's wife.
Yeah, Alex, this is strictly deflection. So let me be very clear. I categorically deny that I was the source of this story. I categorically deny that I ever discussed it with Donald or with his campaign. It is now well established that this ball started rolling with the Marco Rubio campaign, that Rubio's agents were actively shopping this story to major news outlets. In all honesty, if I were going to plant a story as a dirty trick, would I be quoted in that story? Would I allow myself to be quoted and leave a big old thumbprint? I'm many things, but stupid isn't one of them. What's even more outrageous, though, is you have Ted Cruz, a man whose campaign planted a false story that Ben Carson was getting out of the race on CNN, and then systematically called a pre-identified list of Ben Carson's voting supporters, texted them, emailed them, phone called them to tell them, oh, CNN has reported that Carson is out. Shift your vote to Cruz.
And by the way, I've noticed, Roger, I've noticed that Trump hasn't been doing dirty tricks. He's been moving forward with populist, pro-America messages. And when I went back and researched you years ago, and then again when you were getting involved with us here at InfoWars 8 months ago or so, that was the liberal media calling you a dirty trickster. They call me a deep racist with no quotes. I mean, they might as well call me Santa Claus. They just lie.
One man's dirty trick is another man's civic participation. Look, I've seen and I know the names of the women who Ted Cruz has allegedly been involved in, and I must tell you, I think he may be the one who's copulating with rodents.
Well, you notice he doesn't outright deny it either. I mean, he's not coming out saying this is all lies. He just says it's garbage, it's Trump.
Yeah, no, he was asked specifically, have you ever been unfaithful to your wife? And he declines to answer that question. And of course, now you have huge speculation that the lawyer for the DC madam is threatening to release the 800 names that are on her client list. A judge is trying to prevent that. But he has said repeatedly, this will have a profound effect on the current presidential race. Well, what that tells me is that it's not Chris Christie who's on the list. And if I were Ted Cruz, I think I'd be more concerned about that.
But I guess that'll get blamed on Donald Trump. They'll claim that Ted Cruz actually had Donald Trump's thing that Rubio was obsessed with and that he did it with Donald's.
Yeah, look, this is all a sideshow, and it is purposely meant to distract folks from the fact that even as we sit here, delegate votes are being stolen from Donald Trump in South Carolina, in Louisiana, they're going to be stolen. There's going to be an attempt to steal them, I should say, in Colorado, in Arizona. The big steal is on, and they're nibbling at the edges.
That's right. That's right. Ted Cruz's bimbos, whatever, you don't care. You care about the theft of someone who has got double the delegates, turbocharging with the entire world media demonizing him and attacking him, the most fantastical time politically to ever be alive, beyond any movie. It's over the top, and we don't care about what, the wooden man Ted Cruz is doing and all his distractions. So in the 5 minutes we have left, Roger Stone, you got the floor to break down the big steal, where it's coming, how we stop it, what we do, how we get to Cleveland. The troops are ready for the marching orders.
Well, I mean, look, there's so many places where there's a skirmish, it's almost hard to cover it. In South Carolina, all of the delegates must have, by party rules, have been delegates to the Republican State Convention 2 years ago. Trump was not a candidate 2 years ago. There are no Trump supporters attending the state convention. That is a problem. You've just seen the big steal where they grabbed 5 uncommitted votes and 5 additional votes for Ted Cruz in Louisiana, even though Trump won that primary with almost 40% of the vote. This is going on in Georgia. It is going to be the strategy across the board. A larger problem, as we have discussed, is the packing of these delegations with Trojan horse delegates. So even in Texas, where Trump is entitled by party rules to 40 votes from the delegation, the bosses with Rick Perry and George P. Bush and Ted Cruz pulling the strings, the bosses have let it be known there will be no Trump supporters on the Texas delegation. None. The Lubbock County chairman, Carl Tepper, a very good man, a strong supporter of Donald Trump. Essentially, they are stiffing him. They're telling him, and he's the chairman of the Republican County.
They're just going to steal it all in front of us, but it's okay because Ted's from Canada and he has a cowboy hat.
Yeah, they're going to steal it in broad daylight. The one good piece of news is I have enormous confidence in the man Donald Trump has selected to lead his troops in Cleveland. Paul Manafort is the ultimate pro, and he's many, many steps ahead of the establishment ruling clique. So again, I implore anybody who's out there listening or watching, if you're for Donald Trump and you need a summer vacation, come to Cleveland. We need you in Cleveland. We have to demonstrate to the kingmakers that we're not going to stand for the big steal. We are going to have a massive Stop the Steal rally where we can show our strength. Alex is going to speak. I'm going to speak. There will be others. We have to demonstrate to the world that we're not going to stand for the hijacking of American democracy.
It's incredible. I mean, I don't care who you are. You should be standing up for the voting in this country. And their attempt to say, oh, well, we let you vote, but it doesn't really count. This is truly jumping the shark. And I can't imagine a wilder circus than Cleveland. I mean, I've got butterflies, and I've been involved on air so much for so long. Not much gives me butterflies. And I've got butterflies like the first time I was going on air 21 years ago, Roger. Where do you think this is going to end up in your gut? I mean, I think Trump's going to be able to beat them and still take it. I don't think they're going to be able to rip this off. Or if they do, that'll bring them down as well.
I am growingly confident about Trump's ability to win on the first ballot. But let's be clear, the toughest wicket is Wisconsin. Trump is up by double digits in California, New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is a little complicated because it has a beauty contest and a separate delegate contest, but I'm confident that that the Trump folks and Paul Manafort and Mike Glassner, their political director, very capable guy, I think they're on top of it. So Wisconsin now is the battleground. And as I indicated right here on Infowars.com on Monday, they are rolling out the big guns. Scott Walker, the governor, who's beaten back 2 recalls, beat back an attempt to recall the majority in the Senate, funded largely in his career by the Koch brothers. Paul Ryan, the guy who said 10 times he didn't want to be speaker when, of course, he wanted to be speaker. Now he says he doesn't want to be president when he does want to be president. They're rolling out all the big guns in Wisconsin. It is Trump versus the establishment, wall to wall. And it is essential that Trump get out of Wisconsin with delegates. Although, let me say this. If they lose Wisconsin, there's still enough delegates in the states that are remaining to put Trump over the top. The guy who must win Wisconsin, however, is Ted Cruz. He needs 86% of all delegates chosen going forward to reach the magic number. He is nowhere near 1237. And believe me, when the time comes, the Bush brothers will push Tricky Ted aside and grab a more reliable member of the global.
That was my final question. I mean, does he even get a VP spot then? If he's obviously in second place, or they just totally throw him to the side because they created him, he's their minion, he's their android, biological android from the beginning? I mean, what are you expecting at the convention? They are crazy enough, and we see them. We see Paul Ryan. We see the announcements that he's looking like he may get ready to get in. This is over the top.
Well, the strategy of Mitt Romney has, of course, failed. I think he is now unlikely, not having the courage to get in the late primaries and contend. The bosses have a very hard time handing this nomination to someone who has no delegate votes. But I must tell you, Ted Cruz's chance of winning this nomination are virtually zero. For personal reasons, not issue reasons, but personal reasons, he's not well liked in the establishment, more because of his prickly personality. They know he can be counted on to support the globalist agenda, but they just don't like him. And in the end, he will end up begging whoever the nominee is for an appointment to the U.S. Supreme Court. The establishment will push him aside and go to one of their more reliable minions, but only if Donald Trump can be stopped on the first ballot.
All right, I want to get one last point with you. I look at a lot of national polls. Trump's neck and neck, or a little bit ahead of Hillary. Some he's behind. But the mantra by the Republicans on TV and the Democrats is he can't beat Hillary. You know, you're giving it to Hillary. You know, please throw us in the briar patch. But they don't want to be thrown in the briar patch. They seem to be really scared of Trump and the way he's got double-digit numbers compared to the last election of black Americans voting for him, a lot of Reagan Democrats, a lot of blue-collar Democrats. And it seems like even on The View and stuff, you know, he's saying, hey, Brussels is falling apart, a lot of Arab terrorists. They blow it up. I mean, Trump's not really saying radical stuff. in most cases. And so it seems like the longer he stays in, the more this hype is going to wear off. In my gut, dead reckoning, looking at this, I think Trump's the strongest candidate against Hillary. Kasich is a ringer, obviously, over there with Soros, always part of the two-party duopoly / monopoly. Cruz is a joke, a total Bush creature, we now know, unfortunately. What is, your real analysis, because you give it to us, what does Trump do if he gets out of this nomination? And then what are the dirty tricks we got to face there?
It's the exact opposite of what the Republican bosses are telling us. Trump is the only one who can beat Hillary. Here's why. First of all, he's not afraid to open the issue of her abuse of her husband's sexual assault victims. Hillary's an accessory after the fact in every one of Bill Clinton's sex crimes. Juanita Broderick, Kathleen Willey, a very brave and courageous woman, Paula Jones, Eileen Wellstone, Liz Ward Grayson. This list goes on and on of women that Bill has assaulted, but who are then subsequently bullied and intimidated and abused by Hillary.
He can also expose her on 9/11. Clinton was helping the Saudis and bin Laden. That was in mainstream news. He can get him on all of his background. He'll destroy him, and he's willing to do it.
Well, and I would remind you, because he gave $100,000 to the Clinton Foundation, on the naive belief he was giving to a charity, he's the only one with the legal standing to sue the foundation for fraud this fall and thus open it up for the world to see the largest money laundering scheme in American history.
Plus, we're getting closer to the FBI recommending her indictment. That now is looking like it's going to happen.
Well, and I again predict that if she is indicted, Obama will quickly pardon her. Pardon me. If the FBI director recommends her indictment, Obama will pardon her prior to any indictment. Now, is that a pardon in return for getting out of the race and letting Uncle Joe Biden step in? Or is that a pardon to try to cleanse her to run with that on her back? Either way, Hillary Clinton is not going to be our next president.
Wow. StoneZone.com. Thank you for your time, your energy. Amazing to have somebody as informed as you are here. I know you're on CNN, Fox, other channels. Well, you got banned on CNN, but they only give you 3 or 4 minutes on there. It's great to see you be able to really break all this down in the last 45 minutes with us. Roger Stone, thank you so much. Talk to you again soon, my friend.
Alex, great to be with you as always.
God bless you. I knew who Roger Stone was 20 years ago reading newspapers and stuff. And then I'd go to JFK events and other conspiracy events, and he'd be there. And they go, this is Roger Stone, of all these administrations. And Roger Stone, the best-selling JFK author, the best-selling New World Order author, that guy knows his stuff. He turned against him in about 2003 with the Iraq War. He's been exposing him ever since. People say, what are you doing having that big insider on? Well, he's fighting the globalist. He's been doing it for 13 years, 14 years. That's not, some little thing where he acts like a patriot for a year or 4 years like Roger's, Roger's nemesis over there, the wooden man, Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz, the whole thing shows you it's a setup. And now the Bush is coming out and endorsing him and the rest of it. And I don't want to attack Ted Cruz because I liked him on his gun votes and his filibusters on Obamacare and other stuff like that. But, man, when you got the Bushes behind you and you're making all these, lies up about Donald Trump, I've got a big problem. Do I dislike him like I dislike Hillary? Absolutely not. Gosh, I got to say, I'd have to vote for him over Hillary Clinton. People say, oh, the election's a fraud. What are you doing? We're involved in the process to show it's a fraud, to try to fix it. It's really rotting. It's really falling apart now, and we're using that to expose it's a facade instead of playing along with it. This is how we discredit the globalist. Resistance is victory. It's like lifting weights builds your muscles. We'll be back with other key news. Stay with us. Please take a moment to listen to what I'm about to break down very, very carefully, because the information I'm about to lay out in just 2 minutes changed my life and changed the life of many, many people around me. I was a big sports enthusiast, but loved to eat like a pig when I was 10 years old up to about 22 or so. And I ran 6 miles every other day and lifted weights almost every day and had a great physique. Then I got into radio and television 21 years ago and got so busy in my work, I stopped working out. And everything was okay for 4 or 5 years, but then suddenly I started putting on pounds every month. And in the next 10 years, I gained almost 100 pounds. Then about 7 years ago, I began jogging, swimming long distances, and lifting weights again, trying to lose weight, and was only able to lose about 20 of the 98 pounds. I even changed my diet. I even increased the exercise. It didn't work. But as soon as I began to get the nutrients and compounds that I needed, my whole life changed. I've gone from 200 and almost 80 pounds down to about 220 pounds or so. It is incredible. And in just the last 3 years, Super Male Vitality, developed by Dr. Group for InfoWarsLife.com exclusively, and products like the Survival Shield X2 Nascent Iodine have just done incredible things for my body. I work out less. Even though I'm older, I've lost more weight. My muscles got stronger, my stamina, my libido, and so much more. The truth is, we went out to bring you the very best we could, true game-changing products. Visit InfoWarsLife.com today and secure your Super Male or Female Vitality and X2 True Nascent Iodine today, and hopefully start your journey towards living a more natural, focused, clean life. There's a lot of other excellent nutraceuticals we've developed, and also third-party ones that we sell at InfoWarsLife.com that are excellent. But the two game changers that I believe if you order them are most likely to really give you the biggest bang for your buck are Super Male Vitality and Female Vitality, and of course, X2 Nascent Iodine. Take the challenge, visit InfoWarsLife.com today, and secure your nutraceuticals. At the same time, know that you're funding the fight for freedom worldwide. Thank you for your support.